How are you guys? Huh? How you doing?
I'm so excited because we have a bunch of mamas due in the spring. Our breeding season has gone pretty smoothly. We still have a few we're waiting on that we're hoping are bred. But if all goes well, we'll have a very busy spring. So today, we're gonna do a fun video on the possible color combinations that could come out of all of these different goats. One of the most fun things about the Nigerian Dwarf breed is that they have a lot of color possibilities, and it can get kind of fun to look at. We don't breed for a certain color goal, but we have a lot of fun seeing what the possibilities are. So let's get started. Okay guys, welcome to 2023's color predictions. When you look at a goat, what you're looking at is their phenotype, which is really just what's the visual representation of the genes that they're expressing. It's kind of giving us half of a view of what's really going on, because we also have the genotype. This consists of things that they may carry but may not show in their physical body. So when it comes to genes, we have dominant genes and we have recessive genes. An example of dominant in goats would be blue eyes. So little Winnie here was born in 2020 and she had blue eyes because one of her parents had blue eyes. Actually, both of her parents had it, but you only need one parent to have blue eyes in order for the babies to have blue eyes as well. An example of recessive genes would be a black color in goats. So Olive here, she's black only because both of her parents passed down a copy of the black gene. So one from the dam and one from the sire. Her parents weren't both black though, just her dam was black, not her sire, but her sire carried the black gene. So he was able to pass that down, and we have little Olive. The reason why you can get so many different colors within colors is because there's a lot of different shades that come forth. Here we've got little Winnie, little Willow, who are related to each other, and then we've got Reba on the end, who is not related to the other two. They're all a variation of the gold shade. So Winnie is a light gold, Willow is a gold, and Reba is what we call a red gold. Now when it comes to our goats, Tilly's dam, Sissy, she was a black goat, so she can only put forth the black gene because that's all she has. She has 2 copies of the black gene in order to be a black goat, so we know for sure she passed that down. And then Tilly's sire, Scooby, yes, Scooby-Doo, that's his name, he's a buckskin. He passed that to her. And because both of her parents just had brown eyes, Tilly has brown eyes as well. So we call her a buckskin with brown eyes. A buckskin has characteristics of sort of like these lines on the face and then a cape going down the neck and on the shoulder. Now Hazel's dam Miko was a broken buckskin, and so was her sire. They looked really close to each other. So she came out as a broken buckskin with brown eyes, meaning that there's a lot more spots going on. She's got some white in there. So she is a buckskin, but she's broken up a little bit. When it comes to Tatum, Tilly is her dam, who we know is a buckskin, and her sire is Moonrider, who is a chocolate buckskin with moon spots. Tatum ended up taking on the buckskin coloring and the brown eyes as well, but she took on a little modifier gene of having moon spots. And so we call Tatum a buckskin with moon spots and brown eyes. When it comes to Olive now, she's basically identical to her dam. So Lily, her dam, is black with blue eyes, and so is Olive. With Daphne, she also had a black dam, and then she had a chamois sire who had moon spots. So Daphne ended up being black with blue eyes and the moon spots. Those are our senior does. Now when it comes down to our juniors, we've got 2 sisters here that had the same dam and sire. With Reba, she took on the red gold from Napoleon and the brown eyes. So we call her a red gold. With Dolly, she took on the red gold from her sire, but then took on the blue eyes from her dam. So she's a red gold. She also took on the moon spots. I forgot to add those on to Daphne, but Daphne has moon spots. Raven is a combination of Tilly and Zorro, a buckskin and a chocolate. So she's a tricky one because she just looks like a chocolate ronin, which is sort of hard to pinpoint. It's a variation of black, so she definitely has some black genes in there, but just to make it simple, we call her a chocolate roan with brown eyes. All right, Prim. She's got a black dam and a chamois sire. She took on that chamois coloring and the brown eyes, and that's how we got little Prim. For our bucks, Zorro and Finnick, Zorro's dam was a chocolate roan, similar, almost identical to what Raven, his daughter, looks like. So a little bit of salt and peppery, but chocolate in in coloring as well. And Zorro also carries the black gene. So he ended up taking most of the traits from his dam, and we call him a chocolate buck. Finnick's dam is also black, and his sire is a Chamois. So he ended up taking on basically identical to his daddy, and he's a chocolate Chamois. He was a little bit darker when he was younger, so that's why he's called a chocolate Chamois. Now let's go to the fun part, the breeding. So what happens when we combine Tilly with Finnick? Now what I'm showing you right now is a picture of them, and you're looking at their phenotype. But if you look above, what I'm showing is their genotype. Tilly is a buckskin, and she also carries black. We know this because her dam was black, and her dam only had the option to pass on black. Now Finnick, it's the same situation. His sire is a Chamois, and his dam is black. So we know for sure that he's a Chamois carrying black. So what does that mean when we combine them together? Well, we have a little chart here to help make it a lot easier. We know that each of them have to give up one gene. We just don't know which one. So we go through and we match them up and we look at the probability. So if Tilly gives up the buckskin gene, and if Finnick gives up the Chamois gene, we're going to end up with a combo. So this is the closest picture I could find, but this is kind of what a combo would look like, or some variation of it. Now, if Finnick gives up his black gene and Tilly still gives up that buckskin gene, it'll still end up being buckskin, because you have to have 2 copies of black for them to have any kind of black coloring. And the same kind of logic applies to if Finnick gave up his Chamois gene and Tilly gave up that black gene. We would have a little Chamois baby kid. Hopefully a doeling. But we still have a chance of them producing a black kid because they each carry black. So this would give us a 25% chance of all these variations. So it's kind of fun to look at, and also you have to remember you're going to have different white spotting and just funny little modifiers that come out that are fun to look at. For this pairing though, there's a 0 chance of blue eyes because neither parent has blue eyes. So that's not going to happen. There's a 0 chance of them being polled because they're not polled. They both had horns as babies and they were disbudded as babies. And there's 0 chances of moon spots. Moon spots are sort of these gray spots that exist on top of a base color, and we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, we're done with Tilly. Now let's move on to Hazel. Hazel is a broken buckskin, but we know she carries black. Even though both of her parents were broken buckskin, we know that her sire gave up a black gene to her because last year, Hazel gave birth to a chocolate kid, and chocolate is technically black with a modifier on it. So we know for sure that could not have happened when we bred her with Zorro unless she had some sort of black gene. We already know Finnick's genetics, so let's move on to what could happen if we combine these two. So again, we could have a broken buckskin or a Chamois combo, which I think would look a little bit lighter, similar to Hazel. This would be such a cute coloring to have. I really love this little coloring. There could also be a broken buckskin that looks similar to Hazel but doesn't have the Chamois qualities, so not the 4 black boots on their legs. If Finnick gave up the Chamois gene and Hazel gave up that black gene, we would still end up with a Chamois because again, you need 2 copies of the black gene in order to produce a black goat. But we still have that possibility. So it could be that we get a little black doe or buck out of them as well. So I'm thinking we're going to definitely get some of these lighter combos. That would be really fun. We have 0 chance of blue eyes with this pairing though, 0 chance of polled, and 0 chance of moon spots. Next up is Tatum. Now Tatum, she's a buckskin with moon spots, but she carries the black gene. And how do we know this? Because last year she delivered one little black or one little chocolate buckling out of Zorro. So we know that she has to carry that black gene. She must have got that black gene from her sire. So what happens when we combine Tatum and Finnick? So we have the option for a buckskin Chamois combo, similar to what Tilly could produce. We have the standard buckskin, a possible Chamois, and we still have the possibility of having a full black kid as well. But with this combination, we have a 50% chance of moon spots, but a 0 chance of blue eyes or being polled. So we'll see what comes out of this combo. All right, when it comes to Olive, this is where it gets sort of fun because Olive is a black goat. We know she has 2 copies of the black genes. That's the only thing that she can pass on. She cannot pass gold from her sire. Her sire is gold. She cannot pass that on. She can only pass on black. So it all comes down to what is Finnick going to bring to the equation? Because we need 2 copies, there still, can you believe this, is only a 50% chance of them being Chamois and a 50% chance of them being black. So even though at first glance you think, oh, there's a much greater chance of them being black, because we need 2 copies of those black genes, we still have a 50-50 chance. So who knows? We do have a 50% chance of the kids having blue eyes though, because Olive has blue eyes, but we don't have any chance of them being polled or having any moon spots. Next up is Daphne. Now, Daphne is really similar to Olive. The only real difference is that Daphne has moon spots and blue eyes. So it's going to be really similar probabilities. We've got a 50% chance of chamazé and a 50% chance of them being black. Now, last year, Daphne had 2 little red does, and all of that redness came from Napoleon. So this year is going to be a lot different. We do have a 50% chance of blue eyes and a 50% chance of moon spots. So we could get some cool modifiers to that original coat color, and it'll be fun. There is a 0 chance of them being polled though. All right, so we bred Raven with Finnick, and Raven is probably the trickiest one of them all. And that's because Raven is a chocolate roan. So she has a roaning pattern, but her base color is chocolate. We know chocolate is actually black, and so she has the black gene. But here's the tricky part. We don't know if the gene that she got from Tilly is a buckskin or if it is black. We don't know what other gene she carries because she's never had kids before. So this was kind of tricky to map out the probabilities because yes, Finnick carries a black gene, and while Raven does carry technically the black gene because she's a chocolate roan, it's just a little bit tricky. I went ahead and mapped this out as if she took on the buckskin gene from Tilly, and you know, I'm just kind of throwing this in here. So we could have a chocolate chamazé combo, a buckskin chamazé combo, a chocolate, or just a buckskin. I kind of threw it all out there because I think we might get a variation of these, or I don't know. We'll see. There is a 0 chance of blue eyes or moon spots, but there is a 50% chance of them being polled because Raven is polled. All right, the last one that we bred to Finnick was Prim. Now, Prim and Finnick have identical genes. They both are chamazé, but they both carry the black gene because they both have a parent that was black, and that parent could only pass on black. So when we pair them up, you'd think, oh, it would be 50-50, but it's not. They have a 75% chance of producing a chamazé and only a 25% chance of them producing a black kid because the rules are different with black. We need to have 2 copies. So it's sort of funny. Watch them have like 3 black bucks or something. We do have a 0 chance of blue eyes or moon spots or being polled, but it will be interesting to see how the genetics play out for this pairing. Now when it comes to Reba, we paired her with Zorro. This is going to be interesting. There's a possibility of them having a combo, a red, gold, and a chocolate combo, which would look something similar to this, except there would be no blue eyes because they both don't have blue eyes. I should say that Reba is a red gold, but we know she carries the black gene because her dam is Daphne. So she has to carry that black gene. There is a possibility of her producing another gold kid just like her. There's a possibility of her having a little chocolate kid like Zorro, or they could even have a full black kid. So lots of interesting combinations. I think it would be really fun though to have the gold chocolate combo, so I'm crossing my fingers for that. There's a 0 chance of blue eyes though, like I said, and no moon spots, but there is a 50% chance of them being polled because Zorro is polled. All right, now Dolly, I left her for last because she's the most fun to look at. So Dolly is a red gold, but she also carries the black gene. She also has blue eyes and moon spots. So if you combine Dolly and Zorro, you have a really similar combination to Reba and Zorro. So you have maybe gold chocolate kid, maybe a gold kid alone, maybe a chocolate kid, or maybe even a black kid. But you also have 50% chance of blue eyes, 50% chance of moon spots, and 50% chance of being polled. Now, none of those things actually contribute to the health and longevity of a goat. They're just fun to look at, but that'd be kind of cool to have all 3 things happen in this one pairing. So we'll see what we end up with. Alright guys, thanks so much for joining us in today's video. I hope you guys all have a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. We're not going to be back for a Friday video. We'll take a break and then we'll see you next Tuesday. In the meantime, if you want to go back and watch the video where we had a year of the coolest combinations of baby goat colors, click here.